Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw!
And yeehaw, how's everybody doing? Hope you're having a good Tuesday night. We're just getting situated. Had been installing some stuff and getting ready for tonight's show. It was a little bit later than we wanted to be, but we are glad you are here. It is Southern Talk, and we're excited about a new show. There's a lot going on in the Southland and the Southern Land and these battleground states um, as we think about these states that are up for grabs, and they're close. They're very close. But I think I'd said a couple of weeks ago I was going to focus on North Carolina tonight, and that's exactly what I'm going to do because it seems as though North Carolina is just sort of blowing up right now in politics because of the lieutenant governor. And then the secondary news, was sort of the first news, is yes, the hurricane. Looking forward to getting some news a little bit clearer because as of right now, all we can do is just look at the model and see where it kind of goes. I know Rob, he's been taking care of some limbs and stuff around the house because it's looking like it's going to go dead center of where he lives or very close to that. So definitely a lot of rain, a lot of wind. Uh, it's strengthening. Of course, it's now an official storm, Helene, and they still say Cat 3. It's an unusual storm versus what we've seen before because the these low pressure and high pressure, and then it is feeding off the other storm that's in down that way, and it's creating a very wide storm, which is not good because usually, it has a path. There's always, of course, a large area on either side of the eye, but this one's going to be even wider. It is right now 140 miles extended from the eye, and that's going to grow, they say, as it gets up into into the Gulf and starts really picking up steam and energy. And it's warm weather, and it's going to lose just a little bit as it comes over the Cuba and stuff, but then it'll just it'll start building energy, and then where does it go? So I don't know. I mean, I'm like anybody else. I think we do know this today. The Governor Kemp of Georgia declared a state of emergency for the state. So that was an immediate declaration of of where this for the storm for the whole state. Obviously, southern Georgia. Now, we're not talking about Florida. I mean, that's obvious. Florida is always getting hammered. They get things in motion, but and usually southern Georgia, as it comes across, you'll see stuff like that. But this one has got an opportunity to do damage all the way through the state. So he went ahead and made that declaration, and I think it was the wise thing to do, obviously, because of the potential here. And it's moving fast. I figured that would really alleviate some of the rain, but it's got so much it's going to dump into the areas that it goes into. So here's a couple of deals. Well, wherever it enters at, and of course we're thinking about Rob. If you come in and the one model has it, it's going to make its turn back towards Florida, come up in there, and then come across, somewhere between Tallahassee and all that and Pensacola. And it looks as though it's going to dead center, that area that Rob lives, which is Donaldsonville, and of course, and of course the monkey farm that they talked about. What if we had a storm? And they're saying, look at this, it could definitely come across Bainbridge directly. It is Toyota, man. It is definitely tracking a little bit. And I told Rob today, I think it's going to go a little bit east of you, but as it turns, it'll turn back, and it looks like it makes a direct hit right into Macon and Atlanta. And then I think, looking at the model, it's going to hit east of Chattanooga, then curve back, and that's the model And of course, there's tons of models. They do what they call the spaghetti models, and um, you have different ways it can do. Now, one of them had it turning back uh, kind of underneath and cutting that way. I don't think that's what will happen, but one of them did have it dead center in Chattanooga. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. But that's my prediction as of right now is it's going to hit east, which is what the last one did. It hit east of Donaldsonville, but that one was headed out to the Carolinas. This one's going to make the turn, or it's going to turn and go straight up through the state with I say a straight. It's really a northwestern track, and then get all the way up into the, and for us, it looks as though it'll be just east of us. Of course, there's going to be, again, you're talking, 100 plus miles of on either side of the eye. So it's not like it's passing by us. We just won't hit the eye, the center of the storm, and then turn back and continue making that turn, and then sort of make a sharp turn, if I can get the words out, in Tennessee, and then head up into Kentucky and fall out. Now, what I seen today is that around Macon, it's still a tropical storm. By the time it gets to North Georgia, a tropical depression is what I'm seeing. So anyway, I'm just like anybody else looking at the, what it says it's going to do. We're still way out. There's a lot of things to happen. But I don't know. But this was a different kind of storm. I mean, it is definitely different. Toyota Man or Tire Man or Michael, I call y'all three. I hope you've had a good day. I hope Daniel's had a good day. I know he's, and I don't think, I know you would remember Toyota Man, Ricky Ogles. And I was talking to him today, and his wife has had some health problems, and she's in the hospital and going to be going to some rehab and trying to get back on her feet. So let's keep them in prayer. I think he said he had been at the plant for 43 years, so long time. But we talked a little bit. I was helping him out with something, and we I didn't know that she had that kind of problems and stuff. And I won't mention on here what those were, but he was talking about just things that was going on with her. But she's better, but still not where she needs to be. But I did talk to Rob today, or we've talked by phone and by text. He's been busy all day, trying not to. Really, he was calling me to tell me he had another interview set up that we're going to do. We've got 3 interviews set up. One Thursday, one Thursday, one Sunday, and then next week I'm hoping the other one will be able to. So we have it's just pretty cool. We have a politician in the area who's going to come on, and he's willing to come on anytime we need him. As long as he's not busy. Pre-election, post-election, I want to thank Rebecca Kaysen for helping us with that. The election headquarters just mentioned us to him, and his number to us, and put us together, and that was great. We have and we'll let Rob tomorrow. He'll be back and talk about. He's set up an interview with a candidate in South Georgia who's going to come on and talk about what she's running for down that way. It does have a tie into everything that's going on down there, so it's be an interesting interview. Both of them will be. Mitchell Horner will be talking about, he's already elected, to be talking about state issues that's going on, and just things that's, affecting North Georgia, but Georgia in general. So if you're in Georgia, I get it if you're not listening from Georgia, but Georgia's a battleground state, so pay attention to what's going on here. And then in South Georgia, the Stock the Monkey Farm, and it has everything that's going on down there. So we've got a couple of interviews lined up down that way. We have a church we're going to highlight, and another good friend preached a fine sermon. I mentioned that. I just got to figure out how to get his link his video in, and we've got approval to do that. And we're going to do a Main Street USA program off of that, and just highlight just community. And again, that goes with our Main Street small business, churches, community events like the Labor Day at the Post or others that are going on. I don't understand people that say they're bored, they don't have nothing to do. There are so many events that go on around the South. And I know just within 100 miles of me, there is so much going on every weekend. If you look at the events, there's just it's so many things you can get out and do, and some of that is really about free. Now, there's always going to be things offered to be sold, but you can get out and go do some things and have a great time with the family. And this is the weather to do it in. So lots of activities will be going on. Isn't it amazing? We're sitting here talking about a hurricane and the Outer Banks and all that. I'm thinking North Carolina, the Outer Banks are not even being talked about because the track of this storm. That's unusual. Charleston and the Outer Banks. And I mean, it goes across, it scoots across Florida, Georgia, and then builds up steam again and hammers those areas. And we're not talking about that. And that's so unusual to me because we're not used to that. Hey, Earl, how you doing, brother? Good to see you in here. Brother Rob's not with me now. This is an extra program. It's a new program, Southern Talk. But I was looking at these models for the hurricane. So it looks as though he was thinking it was going to hit sometime Thursday. We have contingency plans in case he loses power because we are doing an interview Thursday. That will be, let's see, I think that's around 8 p.m. So it's really going to be dicey depending on what's going on in his neck of the woods. So we'll get it done. We do have a backup date for that, so we'll get that done. It's going to play havoc with us, just the amount of rain, the wind, trees going down, get a possibility of power outages across the state, especially, again, North Florida, South Georgia, just incredible, the track that this one is taking. And again, what's caused it is the low pressure and high pressure and the way they're situated. It's created like a funnel for this thing to run up through and actually help it intensify and build speed. It's going to be a fast mover, but it's a wallet. They're talking about this is kind of a legendary. And that's another weird thing is you're used to hearing about Category 5 hurricanes, and this is only predicted to be a Cat 3, but because of the size of it and some different things going on with the amount of rain and just the areas that it's headed to, it's highly unusual. You're not used to seeing that. So, amazing, to see that going on. But here we are, and Michael, you mentioned that one back. And what did you mention the name of that hurricane? It was back in the 90s. You said that brushed up against Chattanooga. I remember it was, I can kind of sort of remember that. I just don't remember a whole lot. I don't remember if we got a lot of rain, but I do remember the wind. But yeah, it isn't ironic. And we're sitting here and we're talking about this monkey farm. and that was one of the things they brought up, like, well, what if hurricanes come through? What if it hit a direct? And what issues would that cause? And look what happens. It's like divinely or something. Somebody, God was listening and said, okay, let's just give you what that would look like. Leave the monkeys alone. I was doing some research on that. And we're going to get to North Carolina in a minute because, man, this Mark Robinson news is hot. And then there's some other things. Again, we're going to talk about all things Southern, not just North Carolina, but I do want to touch on a couple things, 3 things up there in North Carolina. It's up and over for me. I like North Carolina, but I was just thinking about. I was doing a little research. How many, and I don't have a number yet because I don't know if there is a known number because they're not really releasing it. But in America, the monkey testing the numbers have actually went down some, and but there's still a whole lot, and they've mentioned 70. I've seen the number 74,000 plus monkeys tested on. All of this is orchestrated according to the article I read, and I'm going to research some more and bring it up. It's the National Institute of Health, NIH. We heard a lot about that during COVID, right? And they said the numbers are down from imported monkeys, so that's why they're wanting to grow them here. Imported monkeys are almost nil. And the reason is that the carriers, be they the airplanes or whatever, they're refusing to bring them in the United States because of the backlash of the people. So don't think our voices don't matter. So and this article was, I think it was a couple, 3 years old. That at that time even that they said there wasn't as many coming in, and there had been some things that had changed where they weren't using as many, but still a lot. And I don't know how accurate those numbers are today, but I thought it was interesting that they said the carriers would not fly them into the United States. Good for them. Good for them. And I mean, some of the things that quotes that was in that article, some of the, I guess you would just say the coldness of it, and they were, it's like Dr. Frankenstein. I mean, you get them in, they start talking about and bragging about, what they can do with testing the monkeys that they can't get from mice and all of that. And it's just, listen, I know that there's no telling what we've discovered because of mice testing and all that, but, um, and of course, why they want to test monkeys because, they're closer to us and similar, lots of similar ways. And so they want to enter, but still, there's other ways. There's other ways to do that. But it's just a Dr. Death kind of thing. I mean, it just makes me sick. It really, really does. And, they're just cold about it. I mean, these are the same kind of people that, are into cloning and all that mess. You hadn't heard of as much about that lately, but it still goes, it's still working. I mean, just these Dr. Death kind of scientists that are around the world. Hello, Brother Paul. Good evening to you, brother. I hope you're well. Are you on hurricane watch as well? I hope this sounds good. We got new equipment in the studio. I'm actually building up the studio and getting some things done. It's not nowhere near done, and we'll be actually relocating a little bit, but did a little test today. It seemed like it was good. So, but Paul, I hope you're doing good. I hope things are going good your way. And uh, thank you, brother. Uh, did you work hard today? Did you get help some people? And I hope you made a bunch of money. and they got their money improved. Tar Man, I hope you felt better. I know you've been under the weather, hurting. I say under the weather. I mean, just under the weather, then they're just plain out hurting, and I know that's difficult. When you don't feel you're hurting, you can't sleep, you can't get comfortable, you can't rest. I see. Oh, he's in a golf tournament to help prevent cancer. Good for you, man. You got to tackle two things there. One is golf, and two is that you got to give to cancer. Are you a pretty good player, Paul? I mean, I imagine you are. I just imagine that you are. I could be wrong, but I imagine that you're a pretty good player. Um, I have played golf one time in my life, not counting Goonie golf. Now I like Goonie golf. You can't hardly lose the ball, but my one game of golf, I didn't lose the ball. I was in. I got you. I got you, brother. I was in a missions conference in Dumas, Texas. Just a wonderful church out there, and cowboys, and they did a little bit of everything as cowboys do, and I mean real cowboys. I don't mean pretend. I mean real. And they put us through the ringer. I mean, they put us into a rodeo, and we had to ride horses, and I'd never rode before, and they made us do some things. My granddaughter they laugh their heads off when I tell them some of the things they had me doing. They had me, but we did skeet shooting, and actually, I'm gonna come back to that. You diverted my attention tonight, but it is Southern talk. It's just Panhandle of Texas Southern talk. But we played a round of golf. Two things I'll remember about that round of golf is the two things they said to remember. Number one is try to not lose your ball. Keep it on the fairways. I did that. Now I didn't get a lot of distance, but I never lost a ball. And there's a good reason why I didn't want to lose the ball, because number two is a real important topic. You got to watch out for the rattlers. And they said, if you lose your ball, and you got to be real careful. They said, use your club and be real careful, because them rattlers will be over there, and you'll get a surprise. So you know what? That was enough of a message for me not to slice. So I was using someone else's clubs and everything. I didn't have none of that stuff, and they were great. And I was with a group of really good players. I mean, really good. And so we had fun with it. But Yes, it does bring a new dynamic to the game. I'll tell you so that's all I had to hear. Snake, don't lose your ball. And they said you got to go find your ball now. We're not going to pay for a bunch of balls. You got to go. You got to go get them. They cost. So I almost did one, but I kept it right in the fairway. But they told me at the end. They said, you got to work on your distance. But they said, for a guy who never played, which was hard to believe. They said it's hard to believe that you never played. I said, well, Goonie golf. They said you kept it straight. Um, it was a lot of fun. It really, really was. One guy, he could hit it a mile, but he sliced every time. It was just a thing of beauty to see it at the beginning, and then it would just, or this way or this way. I mean, um, let's see. You were a ball player at one time. I was a basketball player. Not much good at anything else, but I was pretty good at that. Um, I didn't have no height on my jump, but I was a pretty good shooter, pretty good defense. But I wanted to come back because my granddaughters get this; they just get tickled. So it was meant to be fun, and at the rodeo, they told us two things we were going to do, and they had cash awards they were going to give to whoever won, and my granddaughters just laughed themselves silly. So they had these goats that they put in there, and when they told us what we were going to do, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I mean, you have got to be absolutely kidding me. They wanted us to put underwear on the goat. And of course, granddaughters, just the thought of that, they're falling on the floor laughing when they get me tell this story every once in a while. Tell the story about the goats. And well, good, yeah, man. I understand you got to go. Shalom, yes. Pray for Israel. World War III over there seems like. I mean, it's just what a mess. But you too. I'm glad you said hey. It's good to hear from you, brother. We're gonna have to get you back up on the show, co-host here soon, and Tire Man as well. But yeah, they wanted me to put the underwear on the goat so that girls. What color was the underwear? I said it don't matter. Oh, we want to know. We want to know. And I knew they were going to laugh, and I said, well, they were purple. Oh my goodness! I didn't do bad, but I didn't win. So then they said that was I was worth $25. Whoever got the underwear on the goat first won $25. So that was the first thing. And then they said, okay, we're going to release a goat into the arena, and whoever catches the goat, yes, brother, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, peace of Israel. Yes. Yeah, we'll figure out time that's good for you. Whatever your schedule is, we'd love to have you come back. If Rob's here, come back in. You ain't get to really be on there with him either. But if a Friday night or something, a front porch, or Monday night, Mama said, or something, just let us know, man. We'd be glad to have you. So there's probably about, I don't know, 7 missionaries, and they put us in there, and there was I think there was one girl, and then there was the rest of the guys and everything. And some of those folks were really, really good. Like, I mean, they rode really well. I mean, they raised up on ranches, and the one girl, she was really good, really talented. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to chase down this goat. There's no way that I'm going to catch the goat. And if I'm chasing the goat, it's just going to run away from me, and I'm going to run that goat right towards somebody. And that's been quite a few years ago, but I was still, I wasn't young, but I wasn't old, and I was able to get around really good. So I came up with a game plan, and I couldn't believe it, but it worked. So I ran towards the goat at first to get it running towards them. So I figured if I could get them just all running towards it, it would turn back towards me. And because they were all out in the center, sort of the center of the arena, but they were a little shifted to one side of it. So they're kind of over a little bit, if I get my hands right. And when they started running towards that goat, my plan was to get near the wall. I figured the goat would run to the wall and run down the wall, around the arena, and I'd pin the goat. And I thought, it ain't going to happen, but that's my plan. Well, wouldn't you know it? That's exactly what happened. So there's 2 of them pretty fast, and they're running this goat down there. And It did. It came right to me. It didn't know what to do because it knew they was right behind them. So it was sort of pay attention to that. Next thing it knows, it turns it around, really paying attention to me, and it's too late. And I grabbed this goat and I lifted this goat up. And right as I'm lifting the goat up, now this is worth $100. Right as I was lifting the goat up, two of them ran up and said, "Oh, we helped you. You got to split that money with us." And they said, "No, he's the winner. He's the winner." They said, "Come on, it was a tie," which it really wasn't a tie, but you know. So they said, "Well, it's up to him." So they they looked at me and they said, "Well, what about it?" And, you know, I don't want to be petty over stuff, and we were, you know. I figured every missionary needed some, you know, some help, and so I said, "Sure." So it's like, you know, $33 and change for each person. Well, it was cool. It was fun. But my granddaughters get the biggest kick out of that. I actually rode the horse without falling off. They had cowboys assisting us, real cowboys. That was great. Um, and then the golf tournament and the skeet. Now, the skeet, I want to say this, and we're going to come back over to North Carolina. Skeet shooting, I'd never done before either. Ever. I fired guns, but never skeet shooted. So I was using a borrowed 20 gauge shotgun. And I was out there with about 20. It was people from the church. It was missionaries. It was about 20 of us. And the first thing we just did was I did exactly that. Just fire off a lot of, you know, a lot of them and shoot them and have some fun. But then they wanted to have some competition. So they started putting us up 2x2 like you see at skeet shoots. And you had to go through rounds. And every round there'd be elimination. Next thing, you know, I got through the first round, you know, I tracked really good and I was hitting everything that went, they had, you know, they did the straight on and then they did the curve, you know, so, I just straight on wasn't that hard to me at that time. And I was getting used to gun. I wasn't used to that 20 gauge, but, I just tried to do a good lead on, once I figured out how the machine was kind of throwing it, I was able to really kind of judge the speed of it, and I kind of tracked really well. I had a spot that I shot about every time, and I was hitting them. So I got through the first round. That eliminated some people, and there was one guy there. He had been in his life he was like a, what do you call it, a guide, a hunting guide, and he had fired. I mean, he'd done everything, and he considered himself an expert, and so he was really good, and he was. I mean, and then they had the church champion. He was, you know, great because he did this all the time. He's the one that set it up, and there was a couple more that's pretty good. So then there was a couple that probably wasn't that good, and so we went through the skeet shoot, and we're firing them off. Got to the first round, went to the second round, and so it come down, and it's like me and the guy that was the guide, and then the house considered, you know, the master, the champion of the church. And then there was another guy. So it got down to four of us, and I can't believe it. And I told them when I said, I've never done this before. And they didn't believe me. They're like, there's no way. You've not missed. You absolutely have not missed. You had to have done this. I said, I've not done it. So I was paired up against, it was 2x2 against 2. And then the winners obviously would play for the winner. And I was matched up against the hunting guide, the guy that was, and I beat him. And oh my gosh, I thought he was going to melt down. I mean, he like about to cry, you know, like he couldn't believe it. And of course, they're giving him a hard time, like, "Oh yeah, man, you're an expert, all right. You just lost to a guy that has never done this before." And he's like, "I don't know if I buy that or not." I mean, I give you credit, man. I'm not taking anything away from you because I just was off today. You know, that's what they always say. That's what they say with sports athletes. You know, I was just a little off today. You know, I really didn't have my best game. Just say it. You got smoked. And I'm not being cocky, but really I did. And he was embarrassed. That's what really got him. It was like, man, you just got roasted by a guy who's never done this. So the church champion, he beat his guy. So it comes down to me and him. And I want to tell you, that church, all the guys in that church giving that guy a hard time. Like, you cannot lose to this guy. I mean, like, and I had guys root for me, like, coming up, like, man, you could do this. Like, you could win this. There's no money involved. It was just for the bragging rights. And we started off, and I matched him, you know, frame for frame, if you want to say it like that. And he just shook his head. He's like, there's no way, man. I don't believe you, man. You're just too good. There's no way. It was just a beginner's luck, I guess you'd say, or something. I don't know if that's even right to say. But so anyway, a couple things happened. I really was bone tired. We'd been out there for hours. The gun gets really heavy, and I was winning, so I'm lifting it more and more and more. So it got down, and we uh, we shot the straight one off. We both hit it, and then I went next, and it was the one that curved, and I missed. I just missed it. And they were like, "Okay, the pressure's on, big boy, because he's missed. You got to do," and he got it. But I want to tell you, he come up to me afterwards, and he said, "I want to tip my hat to you." He said, "I normally we do this all the time. We do this all the time." He said, "I believe you. I really do believe you. You said you never die. I believe you. You wouldn't lie. You're a missionary. We're Christians and all." And he said, "I was just giving you a hard time." But he said, "I got to tell you, man." He said, "You impress me." He said, "That's not hard. That's not easy to do because I do this all the time." And so it's kind of a cool memory for me. I walked away from it thinking, I don't know if I'll ever do this again, but that was kind of cool. So I didn't lose the ball in the golf tournament. I I did win the money, and I didn't fall off the horse. I did win the money. Well, I got the underwear on. I just didn't win there, but I didn't come in last, and I won the money in chasing the goat down, or really letting it run to me. So success, success, and I had a great time with folks there, and came back home. So I don't know if you got something like that, but I think it's pretty cool, to do things like that. Well, again, let's go back. I want to look at what state of North Carolina. It's a wonderful state of North Carolina. Now, North Carolina, like a lot of the states, very diverse, right? 40 stretches all the way across, and if I come from the western side, so a lot of times I'll go in up around Asheville, kind of come in as you come in that way, and I've made many trips across the state. Now I have never been, my sister has, but I've never been all the way to the Outer Banks. I would love to, but I've never been that far. But it is a wonderful state. It's beautiful. You got the mountains, of course. You got the beaches and the islands and all that good stuff. You've got racing. All the NASCAR guys that have shops in there, and you get around. Some of those areas. There's several different towns, but there's two or three where that's prominent. I've been over at Charlotte, big city. Got NBA franchise, and I've been to the mountainous areas, and there's the Biltmore. You can go and see just the beauty of that amazing place. There's swinging bridges you can go to. There's rock climbing that you can do. You can find a little bit of everything. When a couple of cool things for me was I got to, and I may have mentioned this before, but my family came through North Carolina, back in the 1770s, from what I've gathered. And there were some brothers, and of course that Tobacco Road, a lot of families came in through North Carolina. So Virginia too, but North Carolina was a pathway for a lot of people that came to the United States and settled here, and like a lot of us did, not all, but a lot did. And I got over. My family got on over near Buncombe County, which is one of the places that I easily remember is Black Mountain. And we had passed by Black Mountain, I mean, several times. And I was always in a hurry. Time didn't permit. And I said, one day when we get some time, I'm going to stop at Black Mountain. I said, my family came from there. They went down into, Georgia, and settled in the Dahlonega area, and then kind of came on over to Walker County, and then on out. Some of them stayed, some of them went on in Alabama, and on out west, Oklahoma, Texas, all the way to California. So I've got a lot of records about that, but quite a few settled in Georgia. So, but I said Buncombe County, and I went. You can go, and I don't know if you know this, but if you want to look up your Union or Confederate ancestors, once you kind of know where they're from, and you kind of know you got some good, family data, census data, family Bible data, whatever, get you, great 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 grandfathers and all that, and their brothers and everything, and then you get the county. You can figure out where those units came from. If you got a pretty good idea, okay, my family was here. This is their name, and you can go on the Soldiers and Sailors website, which it has hundreds of thousands of names in there, and I'm sure they add to it as I learn things of people that were soldiers or in the Navy. They have a couple different designations, and you can find units that were in those counties. So I would love to get back there. I know some of my ancestry that served, but there's some there, and I'm sure they're cousins because there were some from Buncombe County. My last name, Cordell. So, it was interesting to me. It's quite a few. Now, I don't know how many Cordells live there, but I can tell you this. One day we had the opportunity to pull off Black Mountain, and exit and went down there, and they got one of them really big chairs, the huge chair you sit in at the Chamber of Commerce. It's an old house, it's a small house. That's nothing you notice when you're in that area. It's really tiny houses, mountain houses. Mountain houses are usually not real big, except the rich that build. Oh, really, Tarman? I did not know that. Do you remember his name? Remember his name? I'd be interested to know that. So got off, went to the Chamber of Commerce, walked in. I just want to get some information. I was going to kind of ask her about, the demographics and stuff like that. And so I was telling her, and she says, well, what's your name? And I said, well, David Cordell. And she said, hello, cousin, in kind of joking manner. And I said, what do you mean? And she says, well, I'm married now, but my maiden name's Cordell. Said we raised right here in Buncombe County, right here at Black Mountain, and said I've worked part-time here at the Chamber of Commerce, and I've lived here my whole life. And I just thought that was fascinating. I here I had studied all this, and there they were, and I came in and right off the bat, okay, Johnson, is still living, or don't know. I'm just curious, but it's a beautiful area, and of course. You got, and I just thought it was interesting. For me, that might not be interesting for you, but it's interesting to me. And I love to get out like that and look at things like that. And then you can go over there, the Billy Graham area, and they've got a lot of things you can see over there. Okay, so you went up and visited him before he passed. So I understand. Hey, I'm going to tell you now a side thing here because we're talking about North Carolina. Let me just tell you when I was in missions, and we're always in missions. I'm still a mission. I'm just not full time, but all Christians should be missionaries. So I was when I was out on deputation, raising funds and visiting churches and presenting missions. I ran into some missionaries from North Carolina, and North Carolina is a great state for good churches, and these would be Baptist, and they would be the Independent Fundamental Baptist. And I knew some missionaries that never left the state of North Carolina. They raised all their support in North Carolina. Now you can kind of sort of do that in Georgia too. A little bit tougher when you get because they're a little more spread out in Tennessee, and there's a lot of them, and you can make it do it. But North Carolina, for some reason, is just packed. And it was just I knew them. I talked to them because I was up there in mission conferences with them in North Carolina. And they said, because I said, well, this is all the states I've been to, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Oklahoma. You just start naming them off, the Virginias and, Illinois. And I was, where y'all been? Well, North Carolina. I just stayed in North Carolina. We never left the state, and they raised their support. Amen to that. Awesome. And, but yeah, the Billy Graham area. And like I say, I've been up and around Statesboro quite a bit, Robbinsville, went over Samford, I think that's called, North Carolina. I stayed in a little church up there, and we it was rough sledding. They had a little half bed, but we made do. It was great. And there's a place way up in North Carolina, and I was speaking at a church in Eden, North Carolina, and very top of the state, about not halfway, but and I wanted to get over to Mount Airy and all that, and I didn't do it. I still want to go up there. That's in my bucket list to go to Mount Airy, because of the Andy Griffith Show and everything. But I did get to go to Eden, not the Garden of Eden, but Eden, North Carolina, and went up there and visited with a church up there. And we traipsed all over that state, like I said, except for getting out towards the coast and getting into the Outer Banks and stuff. That's the thing about North Carolina. If you come in from the east, or excuse me, the west, and you're traveling east, it seems like it's forever. I mean, it's like Tennessee. It's such a long state. I don't know if I can, I put here in the background. Let me see if I can move myself over a little bit. There we go. Well, let's see here. It's acting up on me. It's not wanting to listen to me. Let's see here. There we go. And, and you come in and you come in and you're running across that state like that. You come through Asheville there, and there's Mount Airy in the top, and Eden is somewhere past that at the top of the state. You're almost in going to Virginia. And I've been to Fayetteville, come over in there, Charlotte, I said. And if you're riding 40 in Rocky Mount, been to Rocky Mount, absolutely. But like I said, right past there, I never got past there. I think I've been to New Bern. I think I did get down to New Bern. And just all points in between, back Gastonia, absolutely. Boone, that's a great place. You get up there in Boone, and you got Appy State, Appalachian State. What an interesting town Boone is. A college town, and it's small. I mean, it's a fun place. I'd love to go watch a football game there. I mean, I bet they really get into it, but it's when you go through the heart of town, it's really narrow. I mean, people are walking everywhere. I mean, the school's right there, and they're just out and about in the shops and the restaurants and hanging out and cruising. And I came through on I don't know, it was probably a Saturday night because I was going to be speaking on Sunday just outside of Boone, North Carolina. And it was packed. I wish I'd had time. That's another area I would like to go back to. And all the roads, though, I want to tell you. And by the way, when you're traveling through North Carolina, it's kind of like Mississippi. There's areas you better make sure, one, you got a lot of gas, because you can get in areas around those mountainous areas, especially western North Carolina. You get over there around the Black Mountain and the Smoky Mountain, at the edge of all that, and you're running up through all them curves and everything. There's not a lot of gas opportunities. So you got and also your cell service. You better know what you're doing. Better have good maps. When you're traveling through an area like that, there's Black Mountain listed on there, so that's where I was. Asheville is an eclectic kind of place, and it's an artsy kind of thing. Anybody that's been there, you know what I'm talking about. And I've heard, I've not verified it, but I heard in the city limits of Asheville, it's not legal. They've made it illegal to street preach. It wouldn't shock me if that's true. It would not shock me a bit that they would do that, because that town is it's interesting. There's a lot to do there. A lot to do. It's a pretty town, but it's a little different. Now I'll tell you something else. Somebody told me. Again, if you're from that area, and come in and tell me. And it's happening in Virginia too. We'll just say different kind of folks are coming into the state, and they're taking over the mountainous areas, like they're we'll just say one with nature, and they really get one with nature. They're out there without any clothes on in some of those areas, but they've run the prices up, like a lot of places. I mean, real estate's high anyway, but they've ran the price up a lot in those areas where it used to be you could go get a house. It wasn't that bad. They were small, but you could get up in those areas and get a house. It wasn't really that bad, but that's changed a lot now. So a great state, and politically, it's a hard state to predict. It definitely has its conservative roots, certainly, but it can go blue easily, and that's a state that is real toss up right now, according to what people are saying. And we're going to take a break in a minute, and then I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about the political things, just Mark Robinson's updated news from that, and then a couple other things we'll look at as well. But I'd never been to Kitty Hawk. I think that'd be great. Nag's Head, get out there on the Hatteras, the Outer Banks. I was listening to these before I go to break. I was listening to these guys talk today and seeing Jacksonville there. Sorry if my dog's barking, but Jacksonville there. How many states have the same name cities? And I was listening to some truck drivers. A lot of them I knew, but some of them I didn't. But they mentioned Jacksonville, North Carolina, and then of course Jacksonville, Florida, and there's another one or two out there. There's also a Rocky Mount, Virginia, just like there's a Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Now I said I've been to Rocky Mount. I might be confusing that with being the one in Virginia, but I know I was out there close to it. Durham I've been to. I never really got around Chapel Hill too much. Of course, that's Duke, I guess, University. But yeah, that is a long journey from where I live to get to Mount Airy. I mean, it's a 6-hour drive, and we just got to do it. I need to do that. We need to do that soon. We really need to do that. That's something I'd love to try to do. We just really like to go up in the Smokies and spend time there. But we're going to have to make that journey. We're going to have to do that either late, probably in the spring, before it starts getting hot. We're going to make a plan to do that. Then, of course, if you're a history buff, of course, we talked a little bit about tobacco and the tobacco road. Still big up there. But one of the things that is that North Carolina is known for is the Army and the Confederate Army of the Tennessee. Its last remnants, because after it had hit Franklin, Tennessee, and Nashville, Tennessee, and John Hood, and it didn't go good, and he's just throwing his men across wide expanses to entrench troops, and they got really messed up. I mean, bad. What could escape, what could get away, reformed and went to North Carolina, and that's where they surrendered at. Obviously Appomattox for the Army of Northern Virginia, but for the Army of the Tennessee, I'm trying to remember if somebody knows in the chat. I don't think that was at Greensboro. Anyway, they were going to try to reform there with some other extant units, and it was just over. It was just over. And I've thought about those men. I'm going to tell you who one of those men were. I don't think I've got the book here. I've showed it before, but I don't think I got it in here. Sam Watkins. If you've read Sam Watkins' book, Company H, he was one of those. And he almost lost his life I think it was the Battle of Nashville. He tripped over a log and fell, and he fell right at the time a bullet was coming at his, right at his head. It saved his life, but he did made it back to Columbia, Tennessee, married his beloved Jenny, and 20 years later wrote the book. But he talks about going there. As well in North Carolina, we know a lot of monuments have been ripped down, college areas, and I'm not a believer in destroying our history. Whether you like history, that part of history or not, don't be doing that. It just makes me sick that they've done some of that. There's a move. I was just looking at Sparta there. We got Sparta, North Carolina, Sparta, Tennessee. I've been to Sparta, Tennessee a lot. But there's a move across the South, and we're talking Southern talk, and across the South, there's a move, a plan. If people get elected in these small towns and areas and get on commissions and get the numbers, and then vote to remove all that. That's the game plan. And in some areas they've been successful to do that. In other areas not. In some areas they've put some legislation down where they can't do that, or it has to go to a vote of all the people. They've done some things like that. It's stemmed a little bit. It's not as rampant as it was, but it still is going on. And it's just ridiculous. There's some monuments I don't care for. I'd never want them tore down. It's just not my cup of tea. Some of them I don't. You wonder why these even built, but somebody put money down to build a monument, and they wanted to, and that's fine. That's what America's all about. A monument is not hurting us. A monument, what hurts us is when we hurt each other. A monument cannot hurt us unless we let it hurt us. And so anyway, that's a lot that's going on in North Carolina. So we're going to take a quick break here in just a minute, and we're going to come back and talk about a little bit about politics and some other news from there. Matter of fact, I think it was it Virginia or North Carolina where the sharks washed up? I don't remember. But let's take a quick break. I do have some new equipment, so I'm getting used to it. It's actually going to make things a lot better. We're crisper and easier on us and different things. I don't have it quite all set up yet, so working on that, but we're getting there. Pray for us, and we appreciate it. All right, let's talk about our store. And hopefully by the end of the week for Front Porch, I'll have the new coffee mug that I've got coming in. So we'll be back in a minute. The Southern Fried Podcast now has its own store. Go to sfplive.com/store. These links are also found on Facebook and X and some of the other social streams. You will find shirts and hats and mugs and bags and all kinds of items with many different designs. These are just but a few of the more than 250 items that we have with different designs. We hope you'll come and shop, support the podcast. Every dollar that is paid will go towards keeping the podcast growing, and we thank you for your support. sfplive.com/store. Go shop today and get that favorite person in your life their Southern Fried Podcast item, and it'll help us advertise the podcast as you wear these things or take these things out into the public. We thank you for your support. If you have any questions, email us at southernfriedpodcast@yahoo.com. We'll be glad to answer. We're running some specials as well, 20, 25, and even 30% off in some cases. This will eliminate the mailing charges for sure. So go to sfplive.com/store for your Southern Fried Podcast items today. Remember, Christmas is just around the corner. Thank you. Hey, here at the Southern Fried Podcast, we've got a new morning show. Well, it's actually the same show, but we added a day. We're now on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting at 6 a.m., and we go till about 7, maybe a little after if we're having a really good show and we just want to keep it going for a few minutes, but it's usually about 6 to 7. We hope you join us. And as our tagline says, nobody really wants to get up, but since you're up, grab a cup of coffee and join us. Hopefully we can get you started on your day talking about a little bit of sports or news, have a little laughter. Everybody needs that in the morning, along with that caffeine. And hey, we're trying to get you awake. You might be trying to get us awake. So join in the chat. Let us know what's going on. Sometimes our best programs are from the chats that people tell us some things that are going on or remind us of some things or correct us on some things. Hey, all the above. We hope you join us on the Southern Fried Podcast morning show, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Have a great day in Dixie, and God bless. Hey, this is Dave with the Southern Fried Podcast. Please join us each Wednesday evening as we go live for Hump Day News, where we talk about a little bit of everything. We'll laugh a little bit. We'll tell you a little bit of sports news and other news that's going on. Each Wednesday evening at 7 p.m., join us for the SFP Hump Day News live. You're midweek, making your way through another work week. Join us, and we'll try to make you laugh a little bit and keep your day a little brighter. Hey, this is Dave with the Southern Fried Podcast. You know, one of the favorite things that we do is sit out on the front porch with a glass of sweet tea and just talk about whatever. That's what you do on the front porch. Wave at the neighbors as they go by, or even a stranger. We're friendly people, and we like to just talk about whatever. You never know what Rob and Dave are going to talk about on the front porch, and sometimes Chris joins us, and then you really don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll laugh a little bit, we'll shock each other, and maybe, just maybe, you'll join in with us and chat with us on the front porch. Join us live for Front Porch Talking each Friday night at 7 p.m. That's your friends here at the Southern Fried Podcast. And we're back. Glad to be alive in Dixie. We talk about Southern talk and Southern states, Southern issues, and we may venture outside of that. But there's debate. What's a Southern state? There's people that debate that, and what is and what is not a Southern state. We can choose whatever we want to do. But I do want to say. Chickbait has came in the chat and said that they were under a tornado warning. I think she said tornado warning, and they're hiding. She's hiding with the cats, watching the weather. Sorry to hear that. We're on hurricane watch, and what's going on with that? Not here yet, but on the way. So sorry to hear that. Warning went out at 9:15, and had a new warning said until 9:45. I bet it's hard. It is hard to keep the cats in the bathroom. I bet that it is. Chad and Steve, Northeast Ohio, but tornado warning is over now. Well, praise the Lord. You take care of yourself, girl. That's scary stuff. I don't want nothing to do with tornadoes. hurricanes, earthquakes, cyclones, you name it. Hail. You can have a hailstorm, it'd mess your day up. Don't want nothing to do with any of that. So you take care of yourself. Yeah, that's just, y'all have in your area, is it common to have tornadoes? Is that, are you used to that? I, I do want to start calling Steve Cletus. I just love that. Safe and sound, praying for everyone in the path of the hurricane. Yes, thank you. They warned of hail. I understand. Not fun, but hopefully they're passed by and nobody was hurt. Yeah, do pray for all the people in the path of the storm. It's not going. They're never good, but it's going to be ugly, just the way it looks, and it's going to impact more people because usually we get a reprieve. It goes out over the ocean for a while and hits the Outer Banks and all that, and then goes on out to sea and dies. But this time it's going to die over land and a lot of land and some very populated areas. So state of emergency already declared for this whole state of Georgia. That's unusual. We don't normally get those designations. Yeah, I saw that today on WSB in Atlanta. Give them credit. I did post that in Cornbread Nation, just to keep everybody updated. Not that they don't see it, but I like to put things in there and update. And we're gonna stay on this. Hurricane watch. We'll be talking about it. See, no, but the power was out for a week. Some people August. I think a tornado outbreak. It's a wind too, not just tornadoes. Yeah, according to where that jet stream's going, you can get some rough storms. Not very common by Lake Erie. Okay, I'm no fan. Tarman will know this, but around here, a lot of people just got to where they didn't pay attention to tornado stuff. It's like, they'll drop down some woods, knock some trees down. It might hit part of a house, tear a roof off, and it's over. Well, when that one came through and ripped all the way from Alabama through Georgia up into Tennessee, and loss of life, massive F5 that it strengthened and hit Ringo, Georgia. Nobody takes those things lightly anymore, ever. So, yeah. Do you get a lot of snow up our Chick Bait? You get a lot of snow in that area you're at? You get some snow. Get the cats get to look out and see some snow. My wife just loves snow. I'm like, I like to see it fall and then be gone. I don't want no snow. So yeah, North Carolina, it's in the news a lot, unfortunately. And, who knows what's going on with this? This is, it was a CNN report. And we know how media can do. They can rip somebody and say they can tear a person down, then they'll backstory okay, our sources were wrong or whatever. Yeah, lake effect snow is what we get, but the snow belt is a bit south of me, gets more, and New England gets a ton, or it's not like here at all. Okay, we're in kind of a good pocket there, looks like. But CNN ran the story that supposedly years ago, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson made some controversial postings, which I'm not going to repeat, on a porn site. He was asked to resign by Thursday night, which is when if he was going to do it, he'd have to do that. So way the thing works. He refused. President Trump had a rally in North Carolina, and they did not invite him, and they don't want to touch that, because they don't know where it's going to go. They've not said whether they still endorse him. I'd say this is probably going to come up at the vice presidential debate. Now the news is that a lot of his staff has left. I mean, it's a sinking ship, looks like, and they don't know where it's going. They don't know how to defend it, and so he's hired a law firm, and but the Republican Governors Association said Monday, this is according to U.S. News World Reports, that they will no longer support Robinson. It's a sinking ship, and it's unfortunate. It's going to throw by default. Looks like you just never know about election; he could still win. But um, he's had access to money and resources there that may dry up now. Um, he's not been leading, but it's been tight. It doesn't mean that the state will not stay conservative, but it looks like it may have a Democrat governor. It's possible. And so they're going to quickly, and I'm sure, chick bait, nobody wants to be a part of a ship that's going down. Politics is brutal and cruel and everything, and I get it. And he may be totally innocent. This is, if he's guilty, if he did it, on a personal level, if he did it, um, own it and ask forgiveness and move on. We're imperfect human beings. If he said some things that he shouldn't have, and I'm going to tell you what, pornography's tore down a lot of people. A lot of people. And maybe at one time he had trouble. We don't know. Maybe at one time he had trouble. Maybe he says it's not him. I don't know. They've not shown any conclusive proof. I don't even know if they've shown proof. They just said that they've researched it and they believe that all the trace and the email and the addresses and IPs and all that line up. And so who knows? Maybe it does. Of course, everybody always says they were hacked or whatever. It was a long time ago, and I don't remember. I think it goes back. I mean, seriously, I don't remember the years, but maybe was it 20 years or something? But in politics, you don't want you don't ever want something like this coming up. You especially don't want it in the home stretch of a campaign. And I wonder how long they had this info. I really do. How long did they sit on it? How did they find it? They hire people to investigate. Both sides do that. Find us some dirt, and he's going to fight it. As on a personal level, we'll just have to say, and how he referred to himself is not even us. I'm not going to repeat that either. But it's really controversial. He said some things. And then they brought in some other things that he has said that they don't like. Of course, they're gonna just destroy the man is what they'll do. They'll try to destroy him. But I'm gonna tell you right now, they can't destroy him if he really has a relationship with Christ. He's a Christian. He can never be destroyed. Oh, they can tear him down into politics, and he may never gain traction again. I'll tell you, there's a lot of people ain't left him. I'd say a lot of people are taking a wait and see approach, praying for him. And I would suggest that we should pray for all leaders. I pray for every leader out there. And of course they're going to attack him because he's came against certain groups because of his faith. And yeah, you're right. Cancel culture has gone too far because they really don't want to just highlight an issue. They want to destroy you. Not only now, but for the future. And it's dirty. Politics is dirty. Now, if he did this a long time ago, okay, come out, answer it. Nobody can make him step down. I mean, he may lose, but he's got the right to do that. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I'm just a guy sitting here. I don't have the data in front of me. I don't know what he did or he didn't do. But it is going to become a millstone around the campaign for Trump and J.D. Vance because they're going to use it that way, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because he's, if he gets a loss, if he gets lawyers, well, one thing they're going to file injunctions and stuff, and it'll get tied up in court. And nobody will be able to talk about it. So you're not going to find out much about this probably if they can get a gag order on it, saying he's in election season and everything. Who knows what happened? Who knows? So I don't know. You're right, chick bait. Others have done and said worse, and they're just going after him maybe because, I will say this: if you're guilty, just exactly what you said, own it, come out and get in front of it. If you're not guilty, defend it with your life because your name and your character, don't let anybody take that away from you. People work hard to, that's to defend your family name. You got kids, grandkids, spouse, you got, church involved. If you're innocent, proclaim it and fight it till the end. Cause I know I would. I'm not saying I'm guilty on anything. And of course what they do is, in court, they'll say, we'll give you 100 years or you can plead guilty and, get 5. Stuff like that happens. But I'm just saying, in the court of public opinion, I think it's a good. It may be a good sign that he's got a law firm. If it's not just a delaying tactic for the election, if he really has an attack dog going after and demanding to see discovery on what they have, then I would say he's probably innocent of this. If it's hedging and it's just all about delaying, I'd say there's probably some truth to it. Um, it is a long time ago, but and of course, the liberal media is going to just keep going on it, even if he said, "I did it long time ago. I was guilty, and I'm sorry," and whatever. So I don't know, but I just think that he needs to. Well, he's got to do what he's got to do. It's his decision, not my decision. And but I do think I would like to see this. I would like to see this settled, obviously before the election. I mean, that's the deal here: is how does it impact the election? And like I said, it's a big if, right? Chick mate, it's a big if, and it was a long time ago. Yeah, you're right though. There's a lot of dark things in a lot of politicians' history, and there's a lot of skeletons. And I think probably if we only knew the truth of Epstein's full guest list and when they were there and who was there and everything, I still don't think we know everything about that. I think it'd be shocking. Of course, there are those that believe that there's, and I don't want to get into it too deep because it's just too controversial, but there are those that believe that there are some people in the world that are using that as blackmail against politicians and leaders all across the world. Could be, spying and power. Who knows? Somebody's got something they want to use, and they look for a way to get their thing done, and say, well, you know what we're sitting on? We got it right here. Well, do you want it released, or do you want to play ball? So that's the dirty side of things like this. I don't know that anything like that. Nothing like that here. Honestly, they had to go back that far. I mean, really? Think about it. I mean, if you go back in anybody's life that far, I wonder how much you would, what you'd find on a lot of people. I mean, nobody wants their, things drug up. Thankfully, there wasn't social media a long time ago. Yeah, it does feel like a gotcha thing, chick bait. It does feel like a gotcha thing, and that's disgusting to me. I'm not for those things. I'm you know what? Because it just shows your character too. If you wait and drop that kind of thing at really late in the game, it just shows who you are. You don't care about the country. You just care about winning. And I would say that for either side. I just don't like it. I'm all about building people up, not tearing them down, encouraging people, give them a helping hand up. I don't know. I just always felt like I was sent to the downtrodden of the world. Maybe because I felt like that at one time. I mean, I went through some hard times. Tarman, he talked about hard times, and everybody, most people have had them. But I mean, there was a time where and it's easy to get really discouraged and disgusted, and you never forget somebody that comes along. It's like an oasis in the desert that comes along and gives you a helping hand up and says, "I stand with you. I'm your friend." You don't get many like that. I bet you can count them on one hand. You don't get much more than that. You get a lot of people saying they're your friends, but those that you will stand with you no matter. That's difficult. I've had people call me before about people, and they're trying to swing you their way. They're trying to say stuff about them, and I would say, let me tell you something. No matter what they've done, I'm their friend, and I'll always be their friend. If they did those things, I don't condone them, but I'm still their friend. And there's nothing going to change that. So you just put people in their place. Yes, ma'am. Amen and amen. I'll say to that. And everybody needs something sometime. There may be somebody out there. I think everybody has it sometime or another. They needed help in their life. And so I would say tonight, pray for Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. because it's not only about an election. This is not just about a governor's seat. This is about a man. It's about his, his ministry, his voice, his family. I mean, let's pray for him. I mean, can you imagine what the family's going through right now? And I wonder who says they're his friend that's turning on him. They won't pick up the phone anymore. He's left on the island. You're all alone. They'll leave you in politics. They'll flee. It's amazing. It's really sad to watch. I've never seen it much my way, but I have a couple of times where, I felt like friends abandoned me. I mean, they just left me hanging, and I'm like, okay, maybe you're not the friend I thought you was, And I've been really blessed for that. Yeah, see, Chick Bates, she's on roll here. If he's being thrown under the bus for political reasons, that's just sad, to put it lightly. Whoever sat on the story decided to publish now. Yes, amen. Without a doubt, yes, that is sad that there's somebody that would do that. And if it's not true, and they've just pieced together some fuzzy math, so to speak, and it's not true, and they can't prove it, it's, or it's just a hit job. I mean, they just plain out did it and they know it's not true. Then they, people like that need what they get. I mean, they need to be prosecuted. They probably wouldn't be, but I just say that the media here, man, I so miss investigative journalism. I would say in a story like that, you need your people out there on it. You need to be investigating yourself as media. Go ask the hard questions. Go dig through the files. Hire some people. Dig and really get to the story. And if it is, then you come and tell it. And if it's not, you say we looked. We couldn't find anything there. Chickbait again. I have a friend who works in PR. The mainstream media gets stories all the time from sources. That's that catchword. And they may or may not publish it as how it works. So it's possible they settle the story till now. It's very possible for that. Editors, people get, they decide when, where, and how. There's been whole stories, whole documentaries done, and they decided not to release it because they question some of the sources. And, sources are protected, but they have a journalistic standard that should say that sources should be trustworthy, and they've got the receipts. But what was the one? And let me think of two here. Now, you may not like my examples. It's just what pops in my head. One of them is the Dan Rather story, which ruined his career for a while. I mean, he's really done. He has these little interviews he does with music groups and stuff now, and those are interesting. But he really ruined himself as a news person when the false story, the Air National Guard story, another hit job. And they couldn't produce receipts on that, and it just destroyed him. Another one was I just had it in my head was and in this case I think they just dropped it. I just left my brain. Elderly man. I'll think of it in a minute. But there was another one where, and then I'll say. I'm thinking of another one. I don't remember that one. Here's another one. And this was media manipulating. And no matter what you thought about the case, the case of Trayvon Martin, I was sitting in a travel thing, one of those places you stop on the interstate and you got restaurants there and all that stuff. I was there, and this story had just dropped, the death, and they're investigating all that. And the three-letter network, I'm not going to say it on here, but we know what happened. They admitted that they spliced audio together off of the phone and made it sound like that George Zimmerman said something he didn't. And to tell you the power of that, I was sitting in that travel. We were headed to Atlanta to do some. I was preaching in a assisted living home down there, and I had family with us. It's me, my wife, and Kaylee, and I think it might have been one or two other people. And we were sitting there eating, and then there was a couple of guys. They were African American. They were truck drivers, and they're watching, the TV because they're upset. I get it; they're upset. Well, they ran that audio, and those guys. I mean, it was like they're antennas just went up on their head, and they were listening to that. And as soon as they heard what never happened, that was a total fake, it was made up. They spliced the audio together, cut and spliced the audio together, which is even easier to do now than it was then. And they ran that and made it sound like that. Uh, those guys went ballistic. They said, he said it, and it was like, there you go. And it was a total made up story. That never happened. I'm not defending either side of that. My wife telling me good night. Salute. um, but they totally made up that story. They ran with it, and they tried to just tried to swing that thing one way. So you see that. You see that a lot. And so yeah, chick bait. It's politics is dirty, and there's always somebody that will do it. And so you really got to be careful, And that's why a lot of people don't want to be politicians. You know why? Because they come through every part of your life. They go back to you where you went to school. They talk to your schoolmates. They talk to people you work with. They talk to your neighbors. They look through every court, everything they can to see if there's any kind of public record on you where you got in trouble for having your trash cans out the wrong day or whatever. They're going to dig everything they can, and if they can't find something, they'll find some way to. Some will find some way to plant it and destroy you. But yeah, that's it's really got North Carolina in a we don't know what's going to happen. It'd be funny if he come back and won. That'd be a slap in their face. So yeah, I mean it's just it's really really sad that those kind of things go on. Another story out of North Carolina, and this the guy that the second assassin, we'll call them, he didn't get to fire off. He was close. He's from North Carolina. That was another sadly connection to North Carolina as we covered tonight. Well, it's dropped tonight. They've got him arrested, and of course he's going through all that. Well, now his son has been arrested on federal charges of possessing child sexual abuse images. Oh, what a family. If true. Oh, what a family. Like father, like son. I mean, what in the world is going on here? His name, and I'm reading this from, this is U.S. News and World Reports again. They just had a couple of articles that popped up on North Carolina. His name is Oran Ruth, Oran, Oran. My brain's fired off. I think of that Flock of Seagulls song, Iran. Oran Ruth. Federal judge on Monday agreed with the Justice Department prosecutors that he should remain locked up while he awaits trial in his case. They said he left behind that was for the assassin and then his boy. So it's like the shooter down at Appalachia, as I would say, the Appalachia high school. The horrible shooting there. Both parents arrested now. Not getting out anytime soon. Just, what a messed up families. See here, chick bait comes back in. An election year, I take these words great assault. I just want a fair and honest election. Amen. Amen, sister. That's what I want. And that's what I say. Everybody get out and vote. And we're under the podcast and we're doing interviews and stuff. And we're investigating stories ourselves, and we're getting with people. And we actually are going to have a person running a Democrat ticket come on in one of our interviews, and that's fine. That's what we're here for. They know what we are. They come and, as they say, they stalk us out and see what we're about and look at our postings and everything. And they're still coming. So amazing. We watched you, and we're still going to come on. But we tell them that one thing we promise them is it's not a hit job. We're not going to. We'll ask some questions, and if there's hard questions that need to be asked, we'll ask those. But we're not going to drop bombs on you, and we promise them that. We don't let you tell your story. We'll give the opposition equal time if they desire it. But we're here to tell. And honestly, in this case, they say they're very conservative, but they have reasons why they're doing that. Again, it's politics. I know in North Georgia, everybody switched parties one time because their party was starting to lose. And amazingly, all of them became the other party. It's funny how that works. It makes you wonder sometimes how really entrenched some of them are to their party. If things really changed and their area changed and the party changed, would they stay with it, or would they switch up and say, "Hey, it's a new day. I'm now this, and I'm running again. Vote me in." I say there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, especially the closer you get to the middle. They'll swing either way. They're like, well, that's it's not easy to win right now with an R in front of your name or a D or an I or whatever. I'm gonna switch. Let's go with a hot ticket. So that's just very, very unfortunate. That that I hate that I hate that for the state of North Carolina. They've got these two big stories. You go right ahead and take care of them cats. I don't blame them. And I want to read one more here from U.S. News and World Reports. Talking about battleground counties that we haven't really talked about that. Battleground counties. Wake County, North Carolina. This is an article by Lewis Jacobson. Came out today. As one leg of the research triangle, Wake County is home to many well-educated. Hold on, it refreshed. Don't you just hate that on websites? I get it, but it just messes you up. Many well-educated suburbanites who have been trending Democratic in recent elections. Much of the attention on each presidential election. Oh, you just got to love this. They're just killing me on this. Hey, hold on. See if I can get this to play. Or to leave, not play, so it'll let me share it. Swing states where the outcome can have an outsized impact on who wins the White House, but candidate campaigns and political analysts also zero in on smaller areas where factors like demographics and turnout can play crucial roles in the race's ultimate outcome. Enter battleground counties. Often, but not always, these geographic puzzle pieces are part of a larger swing state. That's true. They can offer clues to broader patterns among key people like Hispanic voters or blue-collar workers, as well as the strength of a party's turnout, infrastructure, and where it's chosen to make investments. Sometimes the key is simply for a party to perform to its historical strength in a given county. If a party underperforms its historical vote share in a key county, it risks losing the state and the larger national race to the 270. Absolutely true. I agree with this article very much because that is absolutely true. And so U.S. News is spotlighting, along with, I'm skipping ahead here, 15 battleground counties across the U.S., examining their past presidential track records and explaining why they're important this year. Among the 15 counties on our list is Wake County in the southern swing state of North Carolina. Wake County, home to the state capital of Raleigh and North Carolina State University, is the most populous county in North Carolina. And it's been growing quickly, nearly doubling in population since 2000. I'd say that's pretty significant. As one leg of the technology-oriented research triangle, Wake County is home to many well-educated suburbanites who have been trending Democratic recent elections. Wake County is a microcosm of political change, said Chris Cooper, a Western Carolina University political scientist. It's a place where massive immigration and it's creeping towards greater diversity. So who lives in Wake County? Wake County is the heart of one of North Carolina's two population centers. The other is the region around Charlotte, for obvious reasons, big city, to the southwest. Wake County is home to almost 1.2 million residents, or about 11%. This is significant, 11% of North Carolina's population. Urbanized Raleigh is Wake's biggest jurisdiction with about 477,000 residents. The second is more suburban Cary with 180,000 residents. Locals joke that its name stands for containment area for relocated Yankees. I love it. The other parts of the research triangle, Durham, home of Duke University, and Chapel Hill, home of the University of North Carolina. Yeah, I had those backwards. I said, if anybody's from North Carolina, you got mad at me earlier. I said the wrong county to the wrong school. But of course, they're not that far apart. Nearby, but beyond Wake's borders, are the neighboring counties of Durham and Orange County. Wake County is more heavily black than the nation as a whole, about 21% in Wake versus 14% nationally. That is true also in Georgia. There's a couple of counties that, or even cities, we're going to talk about demographics and when we talk about politics in Georgia, and just some areas that even very extremely southern areas is the demographics are beyond, they're different than the average that we would see. And that stuff happens. It is also more Asian, 9% in Wake versus 6% as a national average, but it is less Hispanic, about 11% in Wake versus 19% in the U.S. Wake also has a smaller share of senior citizens than either North Carolina or the country. What's most distinctive about Wake County's demographics is the level of educational attainment and affluence. Thanks to the presence of so many universities and a decade-long effort to foster technology-oriented companies, almost 56% of Wake County received a bachelor's degree. That's amazing. And above the national and state-wide level of 34%. Median household income is 29% higher than the national level and 46% higher than North Carolina. Wake County's median home value is 37% higher than the national level and 64% higher than the state level. That's a great article, and it's stories like these that I love to look at. They go down with some graphs and look at those. So one last thing about this county, how has it voted in presidential elections? Well, a quarter century ago, Wake County had a modest Republican lean. George W. Bush won the county in both 2000 and 2004, but since Barack Obama's first presidential run in 2008, Democrats have won Wake County and by generally increasing margins. In 2020, President Joe Biden notched a margin of victory of more than 26 points. That's huge. In this regard, Wake County, along with North Carolina's other large urban county, Charlotte-based Mecklenburg County, has followed the pro-democratic trend lines of many metro areas with high levels of college education and above average incomes. So to go down to a little bit more recent, in 2020, Trump won the state by about 74,000 votes out of more than 5.5 million cast. Republicans have consistently came out on top. And that's why we'll talk about hit piece. This is right here why they got to do something, because it's a close state. Republicans have consistently came out on top. The last Democrats to win one of these races was Kay Hagan for Senate and Obama for president, both of them in 2008. In other words, the population growth in Wake County and the Democrats' gains in the Triangle and the Charlotte area haven't been sufficient to turn North Carolina blue in federal races. This stands in contrast to Georgia, where Democrats have ridden a blue suburban shift to presidential and Senate victories starting in 2020. So we will wait and see. That's great. I like stuff like that because it does tell the story. I like to do that in my own state and look how these different counties go. Of course, you're more, populous areas, suburban areas and stuff. They typically go blue nowadays. So it's the battle of the small counties and all the local communities versus big city. That's what it's become. I don't know that that's good for America. I really don't. That's why your redistricting is so important, and there's the battle and the court cases and all that stuff that's going on with that. And I don't know. I think that's rough, because what'll happen is if voters feel disenfranchised, that it really doesn't matter, they won't turn out. And already at least 30% in Georgia presidential elections, traditionally 30% don't show up. That's a huge number. I don't know what the breakdown is across the state. I think that's just it fluctuates slightly depending on where you're at. But if North and South Georgia, for Georgia to remain red, they can't do that. And so we'll see. I mean, you're never going to get 100%, but as critical as a presidential election is, you would like to see that way up in the upper 80s and low 90s. I mean, I'm just being honest. Anything over 80%, I'd feel like a victory, but 65 to 70%. I mean, that's a high number, but they're bragging about it, but it's really horrible. It's really not good. And I would say that for either party. If you were trying to win the Democrat election and you were, 35% of your people are sitting at home, and more so in other elections, your down ballots that are run on the off years from the president, you might see 35% come to vote. So you got 65% that didn't vote at all. In runoffs, it really drops off. Runoffs and special elections, it's hard to get anybody back. And the same amount of money goes into it, the same amount of labor, the same amount of work. And it's really disheartening. I love to vote. I always have. I've said that on here. And so I want to be a voter who, um, I'm there. I study the issues. I want to know, who's running and, what's going on with that. So we'll see. We're getting down now. I mean, it's really getting down, and we're fixing to be. This is the 24th, October 7th in Georgia is the last day to register to vote. October 15th, the last day to request. I think they said absentee ballot. I think that's right. Hope I didn't get that wrong. I think it is. Got to have those in, or that's when early voting starts. Maybe the absentee. I forget that date. It's in our interview with Rebecca Kaysen. Please watch that. I need to get those dates in front of me. But anyway, those things are quickly approaching. By the way, there was a story, and I thought it was in. Oh yeah, it is in North Carolina. That made me remind. North Carolina absentee ballots are being distributed following a 2-week delay. This is, again, U.S. News and World Reports. Raleigh, North Carolina, from the AP. They've picked it up from the AP. We want to give full credit to their work and their expense of getting us these stories. North Carolina counties started distributing absentee ballots Tuesday for the November general election to those who requested them roughly 2 weeks later than anticipated as a legal challenge forced delays. Election officials in all 100 counties, by the way, Georgia has 159, 100 counties plan to mail out the first ballots to regular state residents starting Tuesday. Ballots to military and overseas voters requesting them, mostly transmitted electronically, went out starting this past Friday. I did not know that those are electronic. I did not know that, at least in that state. I did not know that they're transmitted electronically. Did y'all know that? Cats are happy. Praise God. We always need happy news. This is tough stuff that we have. So the cats are happy. What do your cats do? I'm going to get back in the story real quick, but dog brings you his bowl. What's his cat do? Come rub against you and meow. Like look that way, like, come on. And it says in all, more than 207,000 absentee ballot requests have been received. That's a significant number. As of early Monday, according to the State Board of Elections, more than 19,000 have come from military and overseas voters. Some completed ballots already have been returned. My gosh, we can't even get a sample ballot yet. I need to look tonight and see if the sample ballot, because I want to show that I think they have loaded them by now. State law directed that the first absentee ballots were to go out on September 6th, which would have made North Carolina the first in the nation to send out ballots for the fall elections. But appeals court judges prevented ballots containing Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s name from going out after he sought his removal as a presidential candidate. This caused election officials statewide to print out new ballots. Oh, more expense. But, he's got a right to do that, right? He's trying to get his name off of them. And reassemble absentee voter packets. The board decided to begin the distribution of military and absentee ballots sooner than traditional mail-in ballots to ensure that the state comply with a federal law requiring ballots be transmitted to these categories of voters by September 21st. The deadline to request a traditional absentee ballot by mail is October 29th. So I may be wrong on that date in Georgia, but because theirs is later. But again, states are different. A law taking effect this year says those mail-in absentee ballots for most voters must be received by election officials in person or through the mail by 7:30 p.m. on election day. Military and overseas voters have different request and return dates. So I thought that was a significant story because of they were going out a little later, except for the military because of those challenges. So these are all things that start picking up around election time. Let's see. The cats are indifferent, or they just want more food or water, but they walk away from it for no reason. And cats are, they have their moods. I mean, it is what it is. And there was one more here that I want to get before we stop with news and stuff, and we'll just talk about whatever. Let's see. Again, Mark Robinson vows to rebuild his staff. I mean, can you imagine? How's a guy going to run if his staff is abandoned? He's got to rebuild. This is hard. It doesn't look good. Here's another one. Several states are making late changes to election rules even as voting is set to begin. I think this is an AP story. Came out today as well. Let's see. In Georgia, that gets my attention. The election workers will have to hand count. Well, I've already told you this story. It's not that big a deal. They're trying to make a big deal. We'll take care of that at the precinct. Not a problem. Don't worry, AP. We got this. We got it. So they did. If you hadn't heard, you hand count those. We already get them out and put them in order and, seal them up and everything. We'll just make sure that the number matches the ticket. It's not a big deal. It's not. It take a little bit longer. Nothing hard. We got a great team in my precinct and across the county. So that doesn't bother me a bit. So they just try to make everybody get off, free. But in North Carolina, some students, we covered this story as well, can use their digital IDs to vote. That we talked about. In Wisconsin, ballot drop boxes are newly legal again, although not every voting jurisdiction will have them. Across the country, including some of the nation's presidential swing states, new or recently altered state laws are changing how Americans will vote, tally ballots, and administer and certify November's election. It can be a challenge to keep track of these 11th hour changes, especially since state election processes already vary so widely. So, Arizona will require election workers to do hand counts at polling sites on election day. Not a big deal. I'm encouraging. Election officials say it could delay reporting of results. Not if they really do their job and stay on top of it. No delay. A few minutes or something. Yeah. It'd have to be a really big precinct with a lot of votes. There's so many people early vote. It's just not going to be that big a deal. I really believe that. They go back to Georgia. And we did cover that QR code is still going to be on those for this election cycle. Maybe next year it will be removed. I'm trying to see if there's anything new. I mean, this is a bunch of nothing here. Maricopa County in Arizona said the new step resulted in roughly a 30-minute delay in reporting the county results. Could be greater in the general election. Iowa, if we have hundreds of thousands of ballots dropped off, I think it's a bunch of nothing. I mean, you gotta have the people and you get it done. Get her done. Another one, Pennsylvania, a court ballot is pending at the state Supreme Court that could decide whether counties must count their provisional ballots cast by voters whose mail-in ballots were rejected for relative minor mistakes, such as not inserting. If they don't do it right, then there's some problems there. So I think this is a bunch of nothing. This is a nothing burger. Arkansas federal appeals court decision last week reinstated a rule that bans electronic signatures for voter registration. That's a nothing burger. I thought that they're really going to give me something. It's really nothing there. To me, same thing. They cover Nebraska, New Hampshire. They're doing random. We do that too. Random audits. We do the same thing, Georgia. No big issues. I don't see that. This is nothing. It's all right. That's scare tactic. That's scare tactic reporting. Oh, they're going to take your vote. You're not going to be able to vote. It's going to take too long. We're not going to get the results in time. And I didn't know it was a race. Yeah, we'd like to know that night sometime. But if it takes a little while longer in the night, let's not stop like we did last time and quit counting. Come on, drink some coffee. Let's stay after it. But yeah. So anyway, it's a great Tuesday. Hurricane watch. Rob's getting ready. We do have contingency plans for the interview Thursday in case he loses power. We'll do an alternate date. Excited about that. We have somebody that's going to come on and talk about, they're running for it, and then they're going to be bringing up these issues. So I just think that's cool. We'll say who. We'll probably announce that tomorrow. I want Rob to get back. He's worked on this. I'm respectful to that. I don't think he would mind, but I would rather him be here to talk about it. This is, these programs, some of them I do. Yes, if you hear something late breaking, let me know, chick bait. I did start watching another one of your videos. Got about halfway through it, and I got tied up, got called away. Um, so I'm making my way over there. Hey, I hope your coffee was good. Uh, if you've been out a chance to get it yet, or whatever you did with it, I was giving you a hard time. I thought it'd be neat to go get coffee and just see 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 what you got, what kind of coffee and all that. But if you haven't had time, that's fine too. But uh, you're a blessing, and that was fun. We do a lot of different things on here, uh, and just we like to cut up a little bit. So if you haven't caught that, and Chickbait's probably still trying to get used to us because we are different. We are different. Like I said, some people trying to figure us out, and we're really hard to label. People say, "Well, are you trying to have a Christian channel?" Well, we're faith based. This is not a church channel. We do church on here. You see me, I preach and do devotionals and talk about the Lord. I'm wearing a cross on my hat tonight, but we cut up and go on, and we do informative interviews, and then we laugh our heads off and act like little kids. So they're really hard to label us. We just say we're the Southern Fried, and that just kind of covers it all. Okay, what kinds you get? I'm curious. Um, we are people who would otherwise not meet, but I enjoy talking with all tops. Yeah, I'm one of those crazy tops. Well, you never know. It's a possibility. We probably wouldn't have met but for this, but you never know. Back in the day when I was, running through Ohio, you just never know. If you saw me broke down on the side of the road, would you pull over check bait? He's that crazy guy. Oh man, I used to love when I'd go up into areas and they'd hear my accent. And, yeah, amen. Just a bag from Aldi's. You shop at Aldi's a lot. Do you pay the quarter for the buggy, or you just carry your stuff around? I have never been in Aldi's. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I just never been in. I've never been to Aldi's. But a lot of people like it, swear by it. I used to know a lady, and she used to love it. And they'd only bring them in one time a year. And it's what is it? It's a top of onion, a particular flavor and I hope I'm right on this. Y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. Strawberry onion or something. It's only comes in it a very brief time, and she would be ready on and pounce on it and get several, and she'd freeze them and do all this stuff. But yeah, Aldi's not huge, but they carry a lot of things others don't carry quite in the same way, or I guess sometimes they'll leave one in the cart, but yes, I always bring a quarter. You get your quarter back, right? Don't you get the quarter back when you bring the buggy back? I've never been, but I heard people talk about it. Everybody around here goes to Costco. Yeah, there is an Aldi's, and it does well. I'm just kidding, but there is Costco's packed, and the big W Walmart. Walmart's so famous in our town, and we got the big super center, and then we got the neighborhood market, and they're probably only maybe a mile apart. I think it's about a mile, maybe a mile and a half. It's not far. That mile sounds about right, but it may be a mile and a half. But yeah, I just wonder if you got your quarterback. The way things are going, I'm surprised it's not 50 cents. You had them little machines outside of stores, and you could get, a toy or candy or gum or whatever. And there were some, there was always a quarter, or some of them were nickels and dimes at one time, but you put your quarter in, you turn it, and hope something spit out. Well, then, some of them if it was a toy, they got to where they were 50 cents. So you put the two quarters together and, you get them in there and then turn, and you get the toy, and, it's not worth the 50 cents, but as a kid, you enjoy the surprise or the joy of getting something. You looked through there and saw something you wanted. You never got that. Well, then I saw one that was like 4 quarters. I'm like, man, things have gotten expensive. You get your quarterback. Awesome. Let's see here. You educate me. Aldi's was the first supermarket in Europe. Supermarkets didn't take off in Europe, but Aldi's is the same company that is Trader Joe's too. I may have heard that, but I may not have. But you do get your quarterback. So that's good to know. I didn't know. I think I'd heard that, but I want to be sure. We don't want you losing your quarters. Yeah, everybody down here does things a little different. Some people hate to have change in their pocket. They hate it. They throw all their change in a bucket, and when they get a ton of it, they take it down there and pour it in that machine, and or count it and roll them up. I've done that too. They'll have hundreds of dollars in coinage, but a lot of people like carrying change. Some people carry the little coin pouch. They'll carry that. They want to be exact. They want to give you the exact amount. 21 cents. Here you go, exact amount. Let's see here. U.S. markets took off in the Great Depression, but they had to hire actors to push carts because of men fell like baby carriages. Well, I don't mind pushing a buggy if I got to get several things. I don't shop a lot, but when I do, I will use it. But I don't have a problem with that because I don't want to have to try to carry all that stuff around. But my dream is if I have to go in, that it's just for 2 or 3 things and I don't have to push the buggy. But you know what happens? I always get the buggy that's in bad shape, and I won't realize it until I've already pushed off a few feet. I'm like, I'm not turning back. So it'll have the squeaky wheel, the wheel that's not pushing good, the rubber's off and it's making all kinds of racket that's rolling through the store, clattering and clanging and everything else. And it's like, oh, this is annoying. And I don't like carrying them baskets around. I just can't. I'm not down with that. I'd rather have a sack thrown over my shoulders to carry one of them baskets around. That just hurts my shoulder to I like Toto, Dorothy carrying Toto around. I'm not really into that. Well, it's interesting. You can find about anything, any kind of documentary on YouTube, right? Documentary on YouTube about supermarkets, weird historical things like that. Yeah, it's cool. I watched one on how they make pencils. I thought that was a pretty cool story. Pretty cool story. I like that. It's how things are made, and there's tons of those out there. How they make little clips and stuff. It's just amazing. The amount, machinery, automation, all that. I love that stuff. Of course, I'm in manufacturing, and we were doing a tour group today for some robotics high school team, and I got into leading the thing. I went to help. I didn't know I was going to lead it. It's been a long time since I led a tour, but for the high schoolers, I think it was okay. And nobody wanted to talk. They're like, Dave, you're going to talk, right? We'll lead. You talk. I'm like, really? I can talk. I don't know if it's accurate. Don't forget in the morning we'll be back, Lord willing, for the morning show, 6 a.m. Back with Rob. Hump Day. Yeah, Hump Day. And then our crazy midweek program, Hump Day News, Southern Fried Podcast, Hump Day News. We just simply call it SFP, Hump Day News. Seems like we've talked a lot about cryptids here. Now, Robert, every time we're talking, it's all about the cryptids. I've ruined him. It's all we talk about. The hurricane. He's talking about the hurricane coming through, and it's like, and to get him back because that's all he's talked about. I said, well, the good thing about that hurricane coming through, because he was all talking about cutting trees and getting all this stuff and getting ready. I said, well, the good thing about the cryptids or the hurricanes is that it'll blow the cryptids out, blow them out of the county. He said, well, you might have a point there. He said, if I believed in them. And I was like, well, that's all you talk about. But we've had fun with it. We've had fun with the cryptids and Bigfoot. And on October 5th, around here in my not far from me, the little hamlet of Chickamauga has the first Green Eyes Festival. And I have to work that afternoon, but I think it starts at 10 a.m. I think I might go down and get me about an hour and a half or 2 at the most, because I have to leave after that and see if I can't get some interviews with some folks. Man on the street at the my niece is going down. I think she's got a photographer business. She's going to go to be a part down there, so she's looking forward to it. I want to catch that person who's dressing up as Green Eyes. That's the interview I want. It'd just be hard not to, I wouldn't be bad, but it's hard not to laugh. I really wish, I need to find and link that video of the guy locally that hunts. He hunts for him. And apparently a bunch of people came in and made him mad. Things they said. So it was posted locally. And, and if you're listening, brother, I just thought it's funny. You were upset. I get it, but you were my response to the haters or something like that. I didn't see the other part. I don't know what they said, but he kept it clean. He was really drawing down on a cigarette pretty hard, driving down the road in a pickup truck. But he went on for a few minutes. I'm gonna have to find that and share it. I just think, oh my goodness, I laughed so hard. The cryptids. Y'all got cryptids up in Ohio there, Chick Bay, Juliet? You worry about stepping out in the woods out there and Bigfoot comes, Sasquatch or something comes walking through. Who knows? Maybe they come through the Aldis. They got a shop too. I mean, come on. Would you give the cryptid a quarter so he could have a buggy to push around? I mean, cryptid ain't gonna have a quarter, right? Would you do that, Chick Bait? I kind of think you would. I kind of think you would. You'd befriend him. You'd help him along, and you'd tell him, "I'm sorry, I don't believe in any. I don't believe in you. Although you're here, I don't believe in you, but I'm gonna help you because you're my kind of cryptid." Oh my goodness. It's funny, Chick Bait, most people, my, I do like Dave. That's more of the, my name's David, but, well, I've had a few people call me Dave. Well, on this program, I just became Dave. That's my podcast name, Dave. But I'll give you a little secret. I'm throwing out there for the world because, my family comes in here from time to time, sisters and all, but my family, just my family, nobody else. But my dad was David. They call me Davy. So I just don't think at my age I can be a Davy. I can be a Dave, but for my family, that's what I am. I'm Davy. But uh, it is what it is. I have to get off here in a few minutes. I'm just having fun being here with you. We look so forward to having. We've so much has been going on. I want to get Southern talk, and we'll be back with another one maybe this week. We'll see how things go. We got a sports show too. We're going to get in here probably by Thursday. I was hoping to do it today, but I got new equipment getting this set up. One thing I didn't get set up, so it's perturbed me. I knew there'd be that. I said, I'm not going to do it. I told my wife, I said, I'm not going to break open the equipment. And I had a long time before the program, and I said, I got to look at it. And so I started, and it was all going. And you got to set stuff up, new laptop, the whole deal. And got everything's great. But one thing, and I was like, it irritates me. And I've worked on it all the way up till the program. I was running just a tad late, plus some other things I'm trying to get set up for the podcast so we can download and upload stuff quicker and easier and all that. That's stuff you don't care about. That's just on our end, but it's cool. Looking forward to Hump Day and getting past Wednesday now. And seriously though, do pray for Rob and those in South Georgia and North Florida. Rob was working hard trying to get some things done down there. He didn't want to get caught flat-footed. I applaud him on that. They are in Bainbridge, Georgia. I posted an article just on the Facebook side that they already they're out. You can come get your sandbags. They're filling them up. In the Bainbridge area, come get your sandbags. They were showing full sandbags. Well, you just missed. You know what you missed, Chick Bait, was I've been rambling after I finished my North Carolina stories. I was at your thing about Aldi's. I diverted to cryptids, and I said Robert's just infatuated with it now, and he won't leave me alone. It's always he brings it up every show we do. So I just asked. I was wondering, Chick Bait, if you have cryptids in Ohio in your area, and I said, wouldn't it be funny if a cryptid came to Aldi's? And if a cryptid came to Aldi's, he wouldn't be able to get a cart because he's obviously not going to have a quarter. And excuse me, and I was wondering if Chick Bait, because I think you're that kind of person. I think you'd give the cryptid a quarter, to help them out until they, so they can at least shop and get your quarter back later. And I'd believe you'd walk along with the old cryptid, and I think you'd tell them, say, hey, look, here's how you shop in here. Let me help you out and all that. But you'd say something like this, I really don't believe in you, even though you're here. I don't believe in cryptids. But all right, you're okay. You're my kind of cryptid. Oh, this ought to be good when she comes back with this. Oh, there's oh my goodness, there's let's see. There's not quite 20 years difference in our age. well, actually, no, I take that. Yeah, it's like 18, I think, 18 years difference between our age. But yeah, no, not crypto, cryptid, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the Chukamanga, whatever they call it. That's what I want to know, chick bait. Sorry, not crypto. Um, I'm being goofy. I'm getting tired. Yeah, but what I was going to say is there's about 18 years difference between me and she said her age. I'm not revealing anything. Um, so we come from different backgrounds. But I sure like having her around. She cracks me up, and we challenge each other, and we have good talk and spirited debate and everything. And what is that? Well, it's it's Bigfoot. That's what they call them, cryptids. CRY crypt, yeah, CRYPTIDS, something like that. You like unicorns? Have you ever met one? Oh, unicorns. Well, I guess if you believe it, it's there. I guess it's like believing in Santa Claus, right? In the spirit of Christmas, it's okay. In the spirit of Christmas, have you dreams, have you fun things you do with that. Don't let people steal your fun. I mean, we know, the deal, but nothing wrong with having that spirit of Christmas and everything. And by the way, our resident Santa, we have one for the podcast. He came on and did a show weeks ago, and he he did a couple of special things recently, but he's getting geared up. It's not going to be long. He's in that every day, 7 days a week through Christmas Day or right Christmas morning or whatever it is. He's busy at the old Rock City. So well, they are, but it's like dragons or what kind of creature exactly is that? It's listed in the Bible. So yeah, you do know my age. I don't hide it. I'm a Taurus. I was born May 6, 1965. I don't have a problem saying that. I thank Jesus Christ every day for the days. And I've told people this. We're all miracles. We're miracles that we have life. It's, if you're alive today, you're a walking miracle. Being born again, it's a miracle that, I was with a family that got me to the gospel and as a young boy. And I strayed. I had my problems, hurts and different things. That's all on me. But I'm thankful for that I'm alive every day. But I'm truly a miracle because when I was born, the cord was wrapped around my neck, and my mom told me this. She called me her miracle baby. I was her firstborn, and she said they told her that if I had been born at the exact moment that I was, that I wouldn't have made it. I was blue. I mean, it was ugly. I'm sure it was scary. Um, so mom always called me her miracle baby. I've never forgotten that. And God had a purpose. He still would have had a purpose even if I'd have went on. I mean, I'd have been with him. Things happen. We don't understand it all. It's not for us to understand. Let's see here. What's this say? I collected dragons, unicorns, stuffed animals, and they would play with my kids, teaching that unicorns, dragons can live in harmony. True story. Well, that's cool. Chick bait. I got to say this. I'm going to go a little bit over. I was going to stop at 11, but let me ride here for a few minutes, and if you ride with me, I'll be here for a few more minutes. But I I tend to. It gets later. I get crazier, and I get my second wind. I've drank coffee, and then I think, well, I got to get up early. I got a 6 a.m. show, but let me get a few minutes here. But I want to tell you, raising a granddaughter, and now she's 12, and sometimes we're bumping heads, but we love each other dearly. But when she was little, and she came to live with us when she was very small, and those school days and getting her ready for school, and just those early formative years and everything. And I was trying to come up with these different things to get her attention on stuff, and she just loved it. She remembers a lot of it. And we had these make believe characters that I made up out of my crazy head. And some people might hear it and go, you shouldn't have said that. You could have planted thoughts. But I'm going to tell you, my granddaughter loved it. So we had this little thing we would do, like a lot of kids. She'd kind of drag in the morning. She didn't want to get dressed, and she always wanted me to help her. Her papa. And I'm thankful for that. She loved her, loves her grandma. It was just, we were very close. And so she'd, I'd say, I had this thing I invented, the freeze monster. uh, the game was is that he would come by houses to make sure that little kids were getting their clothes on, quick enough. If he didn't, he'd freeze their legs. Miami Monster wasn't the best word. I thought we made him into a good guy. It was funny, but it wasn't. She wasn't scared of the freeze. She was like, "Oh, we got to hurry! He'll freeze my legs." And she'd say stuff like, "We beat you today, you'll freeze monster." We had such fun. My wife, she'd just shake her head like, "David, David, David." I said, "It works, don't it?" Then we had. I live in right outside of Fort Oglethorpe, and I had another one I created, the Giant of Fort Oglethorpe. And he was like I kind of based him on the green giant, Jolly Green Giant, the the vegetable guy, and but he wasn't green or nothing like that. But he would come walking through town and shake everything, And if we heard noises or something, I'd say, "Oh, it's just the Giant of Fort Oglethorpe. He's coming through," and he wasn't out all the time. So we had that one, and I think there was another one. But the funnest thing, bar none, that I ever did for them, they would wear me out. And to this day, they still ask me from time to time to do it. We're going down the road, is Mr. and Mrs. Hand. Oh, husband and wife. And Mr. and Mrs. Hand would, they would talk, and, they talk to each other, talk to the kids. And they would get me, it'd make time pass going down the road. They loved it. They absolutely loved it. And we'd have this little play, arguing stuff they would do. And, Mr. Hand would think he was the boss, and Mrs. Hand would put him in his place. And then it would make up, like you're talking about. We all get along and everything. So it would be like, because arguing is a part of life. A lot of people argue in a lot of marriages. And you have those moments of disagreement. So I would have that. And the way I would do it, they would laugh themselves silly, and they would say, do it again, Papa, do it again. And then, and I would say things like, well, they're asleep now. They got to get the rest. You've wore them out. They're tired. And I'm just, I'm not that smart a guy. I'm just trying to wing my way through life. Some people think you know a lot. I'm a fraud. I do. I look in a room, and I'm in awe sometimes of just the things, just talents that people have and everything. But I told somebody that what makes it great for me to be a podcaster is this: I know tons of useless information that is used in the podcast. I just pay attention. I hear something, I store it away, and there's things that come out that I've forgotten about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 5 years ago, and we'll do something in a program and it'll come out, And God gave me the gift of gab. And but it's fun to, you want to have. And here's what I say, this is all seriousness. When you're talking about your kids or grandkids, or you've got access to kids that you care about, nieces, nephews, whatever. Every kid needs grandpas and grandmas and parents or mentors and whatever. And here's the thing, and this is deep. This is a deep, deep thing. And she probably could school me here on her psychology, degree. But I'll just say it like this: I'm not as smart, but I do know the Bible, and I believe it. I don't know everything. Don't know everything about the Bible, because there's nobody knows everything. You keep studying; it keeps feeding you in different ways. But it's not hard to understand. It's easy enough that a child can understand it, but deep enough that a scholar can never find the depths of it. So it's amazing, the Bible. But I know this, that Jesus had a very special connection to children, and he really instilled that in us. And there's a lot we can say about that. But here's what I was going to say: is children, you never know what they're going to remember for the rest of their life. Never. You never know. You may think you know, but you don't know. And that could be the good, or it could be the bad. And if it's bad enough, they're always going to remember that. What I mean is that what if, I would always think about this. What if I'm having an off day and I say something in a way that I didn't mean it, just frustrated, stressed, and it comes out wrong? What if that's the one thing that she remembers, and she's, gets her feelings hurt, and it causes her a lifetime of, not feeling accepted or whatever. And I've talked to people, I've counseled with them, and they said, look, I don't blame them. They didn't mean it, but it stung me so hard, because certain things, it's why you got to be careful joking around. I joke around, but you got to be careful of the things you joke around about. And I'll put those up here in just a second, chick bait. But I kept thinking of that every day. I still think of it. I was thinking of today. We got to do, I do a lot of podcasts and other work. And of course, she was at a ball game when I got home. But I look for those positive and fun things that we do to make great memories. And she will use those expressions, when I'll be frustrated, things ain't going the way I ought to be. And I'll say, well, I thought this was going to be, easier or whatever. And she'll say, well, I know, Papa, but remember this, we're making memories. She's never going to forget that. When she has children one day, she will seek to make memories with her kids. And I do it with my sons. And, her daddy, he will say the same things, we're making memories. He doesn't forget. So he likes his creature habit. If we start something, it's kind of like we have to keep doing it, so don't create too much. You won't get them all done. But think about it. We every moment is a snapshot that's stored in our brain. We might not can remember them all, but they're there. Every sound, every smell, everything we've seen, it's all there. The brain has captured all of that data, all those images, everything. And some things make their way in, subconscious or whatever. And maybe they don't even know why they're frustrated. Maybe it was too early. Maybe they don't even have a memory of it, but it happened, but the brain still captured that. Anyway, that's deep, very deep. Let's see. She's writing a book here. She's so fast at her typing. I was definitely teaching my kids how to argue via unicorns and dragons, living in a world where Mama Unicorn just wanted cheesecake, but Dad Unicorn worked a lot and they had to solve problems together. Oh, that's great. I love that. Then they need attention. My number one, my brother's dog was a beagle who ran away and had no attention so long. Story short, I had Daisy napping on my lap, and family was like, how did you do that? Attention, I said. Attention. Yeah. All children, all animals, they want attention. If they bring it up in the future, be prepared to accept responsibility for that moment. They remember, but you don't remember offhand. That is absolutely true. They call you Pawpaw. She's the only one. Everybody else, well, I take that back. I think that her brothers, I don't see them all the time, little brothers. I think because same mama, they say Pawpaw, but all my others call me Papaw. My daughter was calling me Meemaw for several years. Well, and my wife's nanny or Mama. Same split, same thing. Like Kaylee says nanny and the rest say Mama. You do type fast. I don't have that. I can type fast, then I have to go back and correct all the damage. The collateral damage across the typing landscape that I've done. And I get really nervous when my typing is on screen because then it really makes me nervous, because I've took typing classes and stuff. I can actually type things out. Me and Robert's probably about the same. Then you get older and my hands work pretty good, but you got, your fingers don't work like you want them to some days. I do have a little bit of arthritis in my right hand. And sometimes it hurts, That's a good skill to have. Good skill. With a typist, shorthand. How many words can you type in a minute? We did those speed tests in middle school, junior high, they called it then. I took a typing class. And I thought, I'll hate this. And I really did like it, but there were some people advancing really fast and I just felt pressured. And I'm like, I'm not taking another one of these. I topped out really fast. I got to a level that I could pass the class, but I was never going to be elite. I've never been elite in anything. He is also a writer. So have I passed in journalism and working on writing a book? Sci-fi. I don't remember. I think I've gotten fast enough. Let's take a test as well. Oh yeah. Yeah. Love those tests, right? I think everybody should write a book. If it's just 30 pages, write a book and put your thoughts down. I'd like to write one of my family, just some of the history and stuff. If nothing else, just for my family. But I'm not really a writer. I'd have to have a lot of help. But I would love to have somebody work with me and Just put those things out there because I got to do a lot of research though. I got to get dates and you think you remember that stuff and you really don't. Some people might. I don't have a steel trap mind, but I know what happened, but I don't. Sometimes the timing, I think it happened later in the year, or I'm a couple years off, or some. My sisters can remember because they're younger than me, but they can remember stuff that I just honestly don't remember anymore. I don't. And they'll say, "Oh yeah, you did this," and I'm like, "Okay, I guess those brain cells have died." I've edited my mom's history books. She credited me on her books and was like, you said that. You told me that local historian. Well, good. That's awesome. You could help her that way. Yeah. When I was in school, and I didn't go, I didn't have to do some of the heavy writing that's, you would have done at Harvard. I did not. But I did have to write some essays and stuff, and they weren't too intense. But, I just got to a point where, I wanted, first of all, you got to have your topic. You got to narrow that down. You got to have a really good topic. I was pretty good about getting those. So I wrote essays on stuff I found, I will call it my wheelhouse, stuff that I'm really interested in. And then I would do my research, and the hardest thing for me was just thinking about how to put it in the format of an essay. I would go. I actually, when I did essays, I would keep essay examples beside me to make sure I was following the rules, because I just get going and I'm like, oh, I messed this up. So I'm not really. It's not my forte, but I did it and I got decent grades at it. But a thesis and all that. You know, college is always writing constantly. It's an essay for everything. You know, and you know that when you college graduate. I think you said you're going for your master's now. Good for you. At your age, I would. At my age and kind of where I've attained, I'm not looking to do that, but um, never say never, I guess. I don't think it wouldn't be profitable for me to do that. If I did it, it would just be for the satisfaction of doing it. And honestly, I don't want to do it. I'm happy doing what I do. I've attained a couple of promotions, and at my age and kind of where I'm at, I don't see me doing that. I just got to worry about get the student debt paid off and live life. Hopefully, live long and prosper. Masters in Museum Studies. Yes. Oh yeah, you mentioned that. I took French language in high school, and they said in the 90s that in France they separated high school by interest, math, writing, etc. Well, in Europe, um, you take tests, and those tests tell them what you're going to take. You don't get to take what you want. I am a training manager at a manufacturing facility. I have also done some security as a part-time job. I love that. I love it. People ask, why do you do that? I love it. I get to talk to people. I've been able to help, make people feel better about stuff. Sometimes it can be long, but it's a great job to just kind of deprogram. I have to deprogram. I love, and some people would say, the site where I'm at now, and I'm still doing some. It's fairly active. It's calmed down a lot, but you just got to stay on top of stuff. But I've been at sites where you just sit there and you're watching a gate. Nothing ever happens for hours, but it's a great time to let your mind just unpack, think on things. It was hard when I worked through the night. That was hard. I was glad I got away from that. But I'm a training manager, working with new hires and people cross training and all those good things. I'm still really kind of learning this role, but I'm pretty well in there. I'm getting there. It's just things that we come up that I haven't done yet. So I did work in the service industry as well, retail, grunt work for 20 plus years as a manager at a Goodwill. Well, I would have never guessed for a year or so. Good. That's a great experience. Working with the public. It's a great experience. Great life lessons. I did restaurants. I worked at 2 different restaurants. I worked in grocery. I made deliveries at one time. I worked for the Chattanooga Choo Choo at one time. Hotel part, and then later I got on over to helping set up events and stuff. I got great stories from the Chattanooga Choo Choo. They're not all, I wouldn't say great stories. They're fun to tell, but what a culture there. A long time ago, it's been changed hands. You are full of surprises, and I like that. It's hard to label you. You're all over the place. You're like you're like a bumblebee flying from flower to flower. You got surprises. I like that. I like to leave a little surprise. People say that to me all the time. They'll say, "I would have never guessed you do stuff like that." I started out in grocery stores. My last minimum wage job was at a gas station. They had a kitchen, so I made sandwiches and stuff. Interesting. I think every kid, there's two things I think every young person should do. They should do 2 years of military service, and they all should have to work in a restaurant or a little store or something for at least 6 months. Buzz, yeah, the bumblebee, the bumblebee. Oh my goodness. Um, yeah, I enjoyed a lot of my time. There's things I didn't enjoy. When I worked for one of my restaurants, they were really way different. But when I worked for one of them, it was high energy store, meaning a lot of business, especially Friday and Saturday. Oh, we worked hard, we played hard. Um, I didn't know that. No, you didn't tell me that. I signed up for military hotel. You know what's interesting? I did too at 17. I did too. That's a whole nother story. Whole nother story. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, the restaurant I was at, they were both busy, but the one was, it was Shoney's in the early days when Shoney's was still a powerhouse. And oh my gosh, so many things happened there. We had a new guy once. He'd just been there, and I use this in safety talks because I've worked in safety for years. And we had this guy. He's a good kid. He was just kid. And the boss says, "Go back and make some mop water. We're going to mop half the dining room." "Yes, sir, boss." He goes back. Well, I'm the grill cook, so there's three of us in the kitchen, and we're working hard. And I look up, and there's a green fog coming out of the back of the store. And we're like, "Oh my gosh!" And the boss, I said, "Look." So the boss, his office was right next to where I was at, just 6 feet away. Not the office, him 6 feet away. The office is probably 4 feet. Very tight quarters. But anyway, he runs back there. He's gone for a long time, and he comes back. I mean, we're wondering what's going on. The green fog disappeared. We never shut down the restaurant. We probably should have. He goes in his office. He sits down. He puts his head in his hands, and he's just like a defeated guy. And he goes, and I said, "What happened?" He just shook his head. He goes, "Man, I went back there." He said, "That guy, he's about to pass out. He's laid up against some boxes. I don't know what he made in that bucket. He put it outside. Here's problem number two. He dumped on the ground, put it down the drains." Anyway, slapped him around. Literally, he was no Vietnam vet. Slapped him around, got him coming around. He asked, and the boy's a good boy. He said, "Now you don't like this chick, babe." He said, "What happened?" And he goes, "I don't know, boss." He said, "I just made mop water." He said, "Well, what'd you put in it?" And he said, "Everything." "Why would you do that?" He said, "Well, boss, I never made mop water before. Mom never made him make mop water." And he said, "Well, but okay, but still don't tell me why you put everything." He said, "Well, boss, I'm gonna do a good job for you." And he said, "I figured if one thing would clean well, then all of them would clean great." And he meant it. He just meant it. He's a good kid. There was lessons learned on all sides, the boss, him, everything. But oh my God, talking about a hazmat moment. There's no telling. I don't know what was coming out of there. I mean, chlorine gas or something. I don't know. So that was pre 9/11. So the recruiter was calling my house. Okay. Okay. I understand. Back when I went in, there were two things that would keep you out: flat feet and a declaration, which I'm not going to mention. If you declared it, it was I can say this, the don't ask, don't tell. If you told, out of here, back in those days. By the way, that was used more by people who weren't than people who were because they wanted out. They're like, oh, I don't like this. So that's what they told them. Gone. Third bedwetters. Oh my gosh. We got a guy in one of our units. He was a bedwetter, and he's on his way out. I don't know. I don't understand it. Grown man, young man, but a grown man. The '90s. I was 15 years old in 1980, and so the decade took me into my 20s. So that decade, was pretty interesting to me until about 95, and then things just got really sad, music wise, and everything else. But the great thing is that I began to serve the Lord, and it was great. I understand chick bait. I do understand, so don't take anything I said there wrong. I think this guy I think there was just something wrong there, and but yeah, that was another way. I mean, they'd try to correct it, but they couldn't with him. So he would. But there were guys I knew that just did it so they could get out. They just went to bed. So I do understand that. All these things, they have a reason. They do. They do. And yes, blanket parties do happen, or it did when I was in there. Not to the level that you've seen, but they're not fun. And there were a couple of times I saw that happen and it was problems on both sides. Problems on both sides. Well, let's see. I think, yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure too. I am. Hey, this was supposed to be about an hour Southern talk, and I went on for like almost 2.5 hours. Had fun, loved being with you. Thanks for being here, Chick Bait. And what is it? Oh, basically what it is that they take a blanket while they're sleeping, and two guys will pin the person down so they can't get up, and then they come along the rest of the unit, company, whatever you want to call it, and they you may have soap and a towel or different things, but they bruise you up a little bit. It's kind of like if you I'll give you an example. We had a guy that was messing up on purpose, truly on purpose, and he was causing everybody in the company to do extra calisthenics. We were late for chow. I was constant. This guy, he was on purpose, not marching. He was smirking about it, and it was just everybody's ready to just kill the guy. So, not literally, but they felt like it. And he, well, not wrestling. I mean, like hitting. Ouch, ouch. You got 70, 80 guys coming by and giving you a good hit with something like that. You're going to feel it the next day. And of course, nobody knows anything. He fell down. I'm telling you, I saw it. I know one guy, I didn't see it. I wasn't in there, but I know it happened. The guy, I'm not going to go into what he was doing, but he approached the guy in the wrong way. Him and his buddies, they ran him into the bathroom, and he got roughed up. And I heard they held him out the window by his ankles and told him I'd drop him the next time. Now, that would be death. And yes, because the whole unit got punished. Units handle situations. You don't go tell. Just handle it. I don't know if it's that way today. I'm just telling you. Yeah, one apple. I mean, I remember the very first day we were supposed to go to chow, and this slacker. I mean, he eventually got kicked out there, but we had to stand attention for an hour before chow breakfast. Longer than we should have been. I mean, we had to, and they rushed us through. They'll enhance that. First it's like, a few people approach you like, what's your problem, man? Like, what's going on? Like, this needs to stop. And if I don't, then you might get, picked up off the floor a little bit, but eventually it's going to come to that. I mean, that's the way it is. And, the commanders don't want something like it, but they know it's going to be handled like that. Oh yeah, that guy was a mess. I want to tell you, a real mess. I don't know what his deal was, but that's a whole different ball game when you go into military. It's a whole different ball game. You gotta know your right. You gotta know your lane. You gotta know your role. You gotta know how to handle things. There's too many people. Life can be made very, very difficult. It's like Vegas. What stays in Vegas stays in Vegas. Or what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's just not talked about. There's a code, but when it gets out of hand now, it will be. But careers can be over, even though somebody wasn't a part of it, just because they withheld information and stuff. It can damage both ways. You better have you can't have sensitive ears, because you're going to hear every word and some you never heard in your face. Boot camp anyway. It's tough. Make a tougher person out of you, man or woman. So I understand. Yeah, I understand, Chick Bay. Well, God bless you for that. It just means you just want to be a good citizen. Well, everybody have a great night. We'll see you at 6 a.m. morning show. At least some of you, maybe not the ones at night. They may sleep late, but I'm going to get here and get into bed. I got tons to do tomorrow, and catch up on some uploading some programs too. Not much. I got a little bit. Getting this new equipment finished, getting it set up, and then we'll have Hump Day news tomorrow night. Robert's doing good. You asked, he's doing good. No problems. Just getting ready for hurricane coming through. That's going to happen in a few days. So I hate that. I really do. It's just one of those things. But you don't want to see people's possessions, blowed away and houses destroyed and death and all that. No, nobody wants that. So you just gotta do what you gotta do to be ready for that. And some people are probably gonna have to get out. I mean, I'd say it's gonna be really bad coming out of Florida. A lot of people are gonna be getting out of the path of this. So absolutely. All right. Good night. God bless. See you early tomorrow. Thank you, Chick Bait. Enjoyed the convo, and take care tomorrow. Hopefully, tell somebody you care about tomorrow. Lift their spirits up. There's a lot of hurting people out there. Go adopt you an animal. There's a lot of rescues need to be adopted. Tomorrow is our Pet of the Week dog for Animal Rescue Alliance. Be looking for that. Morning devotion. We got to get our funnies done. We don't have them done right now. I said, Rob, we got to get back. Lots been going on, so we'll get to that soon. But we will see you on the flip side. Salute.
Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show.